Hey, board gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, back with another episode of Gumbo Live. It's episode number 124, Gumbo Live, the number one-ish Facebook Live talk show dedicated to board gaming. Our special guest tonight, we've got Chris Glein. He's the designer and the artist of Studies in Sorcery. Can't wait to talk to him about that dual dichotomy. Board Game Gumbo, a proud member of Punchboard Media. Hey, check out some of our other fine members, like a new-to-me member is Board Game Ramblings, Johannes and Sonova. They are funny, and they have a chemistry that just absolutely shines on YouTube. You'll get positivity and humor and insight into the hobby. I actually did a show with them with Paul Grogran this weekend where I got to meet them. They are just fantastic. Board Game Ramblings gives you reviews, previews, and even music videos. Now, that I haven't seen. I need to check that out. Go subscribe to Board Gaming Ramblings, Punchboard Media, where we all bring something to the table. Hit us up on social media tonight, on Twitter or on Facebook at Board Game Gumbo, and we'll be looking for your questions in the chat. But enough blather, let's get right to our special guest. Let's see if I can bring him up here. Chris Glein, hey, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Let me get this set up real quick here. Hey, so Chris, elevator pitch. First time on the show, give us that elevator pitch. Who is Chris Glein, and how'd you get into board gaming?
I am a board game designer and board game artist, working on all sorts of things out of Seattle. And how did I get into gaming? Oh my, it is like in my blood. I consider myself a gamer of all types: board games, video games, card games, role-playing games, any kind of really structured play with other humans. I'm totally into it.
Absolutely. Almost any type of you're an omni gamer, it sounds like, right?
Omni gamer. Yes, in fact, I have a shirt that says that from Dylan Mangini.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah, it says Omni Gamer on it. I love that shirt.
So you're a pack. I would assume, of course, that you've got coffee in your hand, but I don't think that doesn't sound like coffee. What are you drinking? Anything good?
Drinking?
Yeah.
I am drinking some whiskey with Amaro and some orange bitters.
Oh, nice. He's a man, Steve. Very, very nice. So you're an omni gamer. You've been playing, or you always lived in the Pacific Northwest?
I have, yeah. Born and raised Pacific Northwest. Lived in Seattle for 20 years now.
I'm assuming then, the Pacific Northwest is small, like Louisiana, so you probably already know Verla LeBaron. Just bumping into her at the grocery store, Portland. No,
it's a big area. Yeah, no, this will be a first.
It is a big area. So I've actually been to Seattle. I did it one time way back in 2009. That's me out there hiking at a place called Lake Serene.
Yes.
I don't really remember. What I do remember is that a country guy, from a little small town surrounded by pine trees, the fauna flora that I saw in Seattle was just something. I felt like I was in a different world. Just it feels like an planet. I'm not making that's not that is more amazingness of it. Just the rainforest look that we saw in the particular mountain scenes that we were in, and then go to that lake with the ice. This is September when LSU was playing UW in 2009. So and they had ice melted. So that was a big thrill. Are you big outdoors out there up in Seattle?
Am I what?
Are you big into the outdoors?
Oh, I don't. I think you kind of have to be around here because, as you said, like it's like you got mountains, you got water, you got all the trees in between. Even if you're not like a big hiker or anything, like it's right here. There's great hiking trails everywhere. There's beautiful nature. Going on the water is the thing. So yeah, it's just kind of assumed by me. Everywhere else feels very flat in comparison. It's strange.
Yeah, we're pretty flat down here. Speaking of flat, hey, there's Marshall William from Sinlaw, a little town up there called Andrea. Not so flat if you get of it. If you go over to the Backbone trail, you know what I'm talking about. He's checking in, saying hey y'all. Hey, also got somebody from the Pac Northwest up there. That's Evan Halbert, designer of After the Empire, checking in. And no, you're right, Evan. Those are not board games. Do you see Evan at the grocery store? No, I guess not.
No, I've never met Evan.
Jesse Fernandez, what's up, Jesse? Good to see you. If you have any questions, Jesse, we're talking to Chris about his game with Weird Giraffe coming up in just a second, so make sure you let us know. But Chris, You were telling me that you got to play a recent game. Look, gaming has been tough in this pandemic, but a lot of people have dived right back into the classic games we've been playing, or skipping the hotness and pulling those dusty games off the shelf. And one of those that I love, that my wife adores, is Barenpark, and you got to play it.
Yeah, Barenpark is fantastic. So the key thing is that I have a 7-year-old daughter, so I'm always trying to find games that she can play, but like level up, and that me and my partner can play. And I mean, I played Barenpark for the first time at Gen Con last year before. Man, I don't know. Waited a long time to get it because I just loved it after that demo, and it sat there for a while. I was so happy to get out with the family. Everybody likes making like a little. They're just putting the bears next to each other,
Oh, yeah.
It's adorable. It's tile laying. It's very approachable, and doesn't overstay its welcome. I dig it.
It's tiling. It's got that kind of a race element where you're trying to get those bigger points before other people. So there's lots of different ways to approach it, lots of thinky things that are happening. And then how do you build out, when do you add on to new squares? How soon do you do that? What colors are you going to go for? There's so much to think about. Well, the problem with Barenpark was not the game itself. It was the fact that you couldn't buy it for so long. It was super, Steve will tell you this. It was hot for a long time, and then nobody could get a copy. And then Steve and Verla will tell you later, the expansion was just impossible to get. I've never even seen it in the wild. I don't know if you have it or not.
I don't have the expansion, but I'm super interested in it now. Now that I've been able to get it to the table, the family, everybody likes it. So now I'm like, okay, cool. Do you want to like put some like tram rails over here? Of course you do. So I've been able to.
Berla says the expansion is still impossible to get. And yes, Evan, apparently the West Coast is a lot bigger than Lafayette, Louisiana, because everybody doesn't know each other. Y'all need to rectify that. You guys live, within hours of each other. You should get together somewhere. So, but yeah, if you get a chance. Not Patrick, I totally agree. Everything north of I-10, that's basically Canada, right? I mean, if you get north of I-10, you're practically in Canada. So that's the way it is. So Barenpark, how about, I know you liked it. How did your daughter and your partner like it?
They both liked it, probably for different reasons. My partner, she loves Tetris-y feeling things, anything where it's like, planning something out spatially. Like she loves Suburbia and Fits and, all those types of games where you're laying things. Whereas my daughter, I mean, you can have your polar bears and you've got koalas and you put them all together and you add way too many bathrooms, which she finds hilarious. So one for her on theme.
And I mean, that's the pitch, right? I mean, the pitch is just getting a chance to show off those beautiful little animals. And I mean, that's all you really need, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can kind of tell a story about your park. I remember, walk into the park and you realize all the bathrooms are at the back. So any of the park attendees coming in there, it's like, well, I'm sorry, you got to walk through all of these concession stands before we're going to allow you to use a bathroom. I love it when tile laying games with simple themes can start to tell stories like that just by like you look at the elements and you think about how hilarious it is altogether.
Yeah, tile laying games are one of my favorite elements, and Phil Walker Harding, I think, knocked it out of the park with Barenpark. So it's a big recommendation for me, and it sounds like an even bigger recommendation from Chris and his family. That is Barenpark. I think it's Lookout Games, if I remember right, but not so easy to get.
No,
or at least not the expansion. Yeah, not the expansion. So, BJ from Game Gumbo, I've got my guest here, Chris Glein, designer of I drew a blank there, Studies in Sorcery, and we're talking some of the spicy hot games we played recently. I got to play a game from Starling Games called Flourish. Are you familiar with Everdell, Chris?
Oh, I've definitely seen it. I never play it. I mean, it leaves a visual impression, so yeah, but I haven't played it before.
It's the first thing that people notice, right? I mean, I remember when I was at BGG a couple of years ago, and they had it on the table, and you walk by and you see this big, giant cardboard tree. Here's a little tiny game. Flourish could have been in a tiny box this big with the cards, but of course, with Starling Games, with the same designers as Everdell, they overproduced it a lot to make a bigger game, and they call it Flourish. It's not what people are going to expect. If they're going in expecting Everdell, that's not what they're going to, that's not what you're going to get. But let me tell you real quick. I mean, look right here. This thing fits in the palm of your hand. Those are the scoring tracks that you basically,
Yeah.
the dials, they call them, it goes up into the hundreds, and they're just giant. You get a ton of them for everybody to play. And of course, you have the big, beautiful artwork, just like you had in Everdell. I mean, this artwork is just absolutely gorgeous. But what you're doing in Flourish is you're building out a 3x3, and then one more, depending if you're playing solo or if you're playing with a multiple group. You're building out a garden and basically a 3x4 grid of flowers. It's a little bit of set collection, but it uses that pick and pass mechanic that we're so familiar with from Seven Wonders or from Paper Tales or any other games like that, where you got a hand of cards and you're looking at them and you're trying to figure out what to keep and what to give away. The twist in this one is I like the way you do the pick and pass, in that you're going to take one of the cards and put it face down, and then you're going to give not all the cards to your neighbors. You're going to keep your hand, but you're going to give one card to the left and one card to the right. And the cards are going to play off of each other. So some of the cards are going to be pretty simple, where like you see in this picture right here, let me see if I can sold it up. Some of the cards are going to be, see those roses on the left side?
Yeah.
Those are the elements, the roses that you can use to score. The scoring itself comes from the top and from the bottom right. The top left shows you what you're going to score on that 3-card row for that round, and you play 4 rounds. And the bottom shows you what you score at the end of the game. It's looking for all the elements on the cards, but the twist is some of those elements actually refer to other people's cards. It might be the highest scoring neighbor. It might be both of your neighbors. You might have to have more neighbors. So it's different ways of trying to score, and it's very, very interesting. Now, is it overproduced? Absolutely. Look, this is basically a card game, and we played the card game, and it was interesting, but it got more interesting, surprisingly to me, because the overproduced elements go with modules. Our old friend Johnny Pack loves to talk about those modules, and in this particular case, they included 2 extra modules in the signature edition that, to me, just in my opinion, I think are essential to the game. The modules bring in 2 expansions. The main one to talk about tonight is the Friends and Follies expansion. The Friends are just, you get 2 cards and you can score a lot of points if you can symbols that you've collected to one of those cards. For instance, you might get 7 points for every 5 roses you have. Now, the other people don't know that, so you're trying to collect them. They can kind of figure out what you're doing, but you're trying to hide that. The more interesting one is the Follies one, and that's what these little cardboard pieces are. That's where on each end of each round, you got to take one of those cardboard pieces, and they match up to the 5 different sets, the roses, the vines, the little mushroom-looking things, and you got to put it on one of those cards. It's got to match, so you see I'm putting roses on roses, and then for every rose that you score that's orthogonally adjacent to that folly, and folly is just an old English word for like a sculpture, in the backyard, something in your backyard, some element, some garden element. When you put those in there, you're going to score. So now all of a sudden, I'm trying to score 3 different ways. I'm scoring by rounds. I'm scoring in-game on my cards and my neighbors. And now I've got these other elements where I've got to put the elements out each round so that I'm sure that I score. If you don't put one of those elements out, it's actually a negative. I think it adds enough of the element to really, from a little 20-minute card game into a deeper, thinkier game. And I've had a lot of fun exploring that Friends and Follies module. Personally, I wouldn't play without it. I think it only comes in the signature edition. So if you're looking at a Flourish, I'd try to find a copy of that. What do you think? This is not tiling, so we're not talking Barenpark, but we're talking about that set collection and pick and pass. What do you think of the combination of those two? Interest you?
Oh, well, yeah, I'm definitely into that. I love card drafting, and just that is a game in itself, like making interesting decisions like that. It's really interesting hearing about these extra little folly bits that lift things off of the card, because you've got this like flat plane of cards, and if it really is like that's the thinky thing, that's the thing that elevates your next level strategy, having that highlighted with like an adorable little thing, that's nice because it draws your attention to it, makes you think like you're thinking about a different sort of problem when you're looking at those.
Absolutely. I thought, okay, this is just like the big tree in Everdell. This is not really going to matter. Nope. When you put those elements on, it helps you to visually connect with the orthogonals. Now the fences, you put fences between you and the other players. I don't really need that part. I know that my cards are going on one side of the fence, and the cards are going on the other side of the fence. I get all that. That I thought was unnecessary. But these elements, these little cardboard elements, as they rise up, it's not really kinetic energy because it doesn't feel like any movement. It's a garden. But what it is like you said, it's a focal point for your brain to think orthogonally in terms of how those scored. So it went for me from being all this unnecessary cardboard. And by the way, thanks to Bradley who did the unboxing, I didn't have to put together all these pieces because there's a lot of pieces in this game. But to me, it draws your attention to what those orthogonal parts are, and it elevates the game to something that I think any gamer who likes. Look, this is not for your Ameritrash dice chucking guy. This is for a person who likes the puzzly games. So the way that you and I were talking about Barenpark, where you like the puzzle of putting stuff together instead of being polyanomos. Oh man, I'm having trouble with it tonight. You're playing cards instead and trying to set collect with the orthogonal choices. So that is Flourish. That was one of those cards I was telling you. I'm showing a picture of the Friends card where it's a nice little flower, and you're going to get all those points for collecting those sets. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool art here. I actually can't remember who the artist is, so I apologize. Pick and pass, 7 Wonder style, beautiful art, and that is Flourish from Starling Games, and it's out right there. BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Chris Glein. Let me see if I can bring up Steve, because I wanted to talk with Steve about a game that he's been playing. Hey, Steve, do we got you in here?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Hey, how you doing?
What's going on,
Chris,
Steve?
how are you?
So, Steve, you got to play a game that I played only once or twice, but I'm super interested in hearing your thoughts on it, and that's Dice Forge.
I did, and interestingly, playing on BGA was probably missing out on what everybody thinks is the coolest part of the game, is snapping the dice together, and so we were doing that virtually. But yeah, Jay taught it to me the other night, and Evan as well. Actually, let me clarify that. He taught it to Evan, and I also listened. Evan then proceeded to school us in the game. Good game. I want to give it another shot to get a sense of whether I'm going to like it more from here or less from here. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see. It's a game where you're in the first of 10 rounds. You're trying to add faces to your die to pump up your dice. And every time you're rolling, you're always getting resources of some sort, but you're starting to build them up to stronger resources, or to collect more of them, or to get more gold to buy better things. And then after some point, you kind of say, I've built enough of that, and I'm going to be starting to use around the outside edges. You can see there are 7 different parts of the board where you can be buying cards that have special powers that break the game a little bit, but also get you points. And by the end of it, it's pretty much a collection of points. It's relatively abstract, although there's good art on all the cards, and it kind of looks, thematically fantasy kind of stuff. I like the look of it, but it was basically converting resources to get better resources, to get more points, to beat your friends. I invested poorly. I invested in the victory points, and I was looking like I was way out in the lead until everybody just blew by me on the last turn with all of their cards having outperformed me points-wise. It was good. I liked it. But I do need to give it another shot, and I don't think that BGA gives it the same wow factor as if you were playing it on the table. So I would want to get my hands on a hard copy if somebody had one to borrow and sit and play with. But we'll see about that one. It was good. It was good.
Chris, have you played? I wanted to say Dark Crystal because Evan keeps posting about Dark Crystal on there. God dang it, Evan. Dice Forge. Sorry. Have you played Dice Forge?
I haven't, but the fact that you had a positive experience without touching those physical bits actually says the game stands up better than I might anticipate. I came across friends playing it at a con once, and we were trying to hang out with them, and they're like, no, I'm playing this dice game. Have you seen these dice? They're so amazing. To do this thing. They were super into it, and that's my one impression of it. And it's been on my I want to play with little dice things. But I assume that that toy component is so much of the experience. So even just enjoying it at all without that is some level.
No, there's a game there. The toy factor, I'm sure, puts it over the top. So you're having a lot more fun at the table. But I think if I got better at the next game, I know Evan would too. And I know Jay would too. So I just don't know that this is going to be a game that clicks for me. I had fun playing
You're on
and
an
losing.
escalator. You're
I
on
had
an
fun
escalator.
playing and losing. It was a good little game.
I liked Dice Forge. So Jack, my son, played it first, Dice Tower Con 2017 or 2018, and I asked him about it. And he's like, the making the dice was awesome. The rest of the game, just he likes chucking dice. He wants to, battle wizards or take territory, and there was none of that. So I waited a long time, and I finally got to play it last year. Sagan from our Southern Board Game Fest taught it to me, and I'm going to tell you, I liked it, but the dice part is really the attraction in the game to me. The exchanging of the resources and the special powers, I got to admit, are cool, but they're based on the dice, So upgrading your dice is a lot of fun. I would like to see that mechanic done in a different game, I think. So, I mean, if I'm going to play a resource conversion game, there's a bunch of others out over this. So
I can see that.
That's just me. I'm a little bit more meh on it, I think, than Steve and Berla. Maybe Dean. Dean says I'm wrong. He says, you're correct, Steve. Physical copy of Dice Forge, fantastic. Maybe Verla says she loves a Dice Forge, both in person and online. That's one that we're going to play a game online, Steve. I'll probably want to play something different. But
I do need to play it again because, like I was saying, it could go up from here or it could go down from here, and it was good. So, the first time through as a learning game, I usually think of that as the first pancake off the pan. It's not going to be the best one. So see how it is the next time you play it. And if it feels like it's same old, I might be joining you. If I start to see that I'm connecting things better and it's more fun because I'm chaining things, maybe it'll rise. Who knows?
And that is Dice Forge. Anybody remember who makes Dice Forge? I think it's a French company, if I remember right.
I will look that up while you're continuing on.
All right. And that is Dice Forge. Steve gives it a thumbs up. I'm a meh. And Chris says he's going to listen to Steve and not me. Right. I think that's probably the wisest idea. Hey, Steve, while I've got you here, there's a big convention that's that was supposed to happen. You remember conventions, Chris? Do you remember what those were, where we got together with a lot of people and we played games?
I really do.
Well, by the way, while I'm getting the picture set up, what is your game? What's your convention if it was still rocking and rolling along in 2020? What game conventions would you have gone to? What's your favorite one there?
My favorite is one that would have just happened, which is Shucks, which happens in Vancouver, the Shut Up and Sit Down convention. I've been there. I mean, it's only been going for like 3 years, I guess 4 years now. But it's got maybe it's just the size of where it is in its lifetime, but it's cozy, good crowd, good vibe. Vancouver is beautiful, happens to be drivable from Seattle, which helps a lot. So it has this feeling of a nice getaway with just nice people. And I miss Shucks. I miss Shucks.
I would love to go to Shucks. Hey, we got some corrections here, so let's make sure we have the record correct. Dean says production is fantastic. The game is pretty fun. Marshall knows me. Marshall knows that I just want to make my own dice and then play Strike with it. That's it.
Yep.
Strike. Gladiators in Arena. That's right.
Gladiator Forge. It's got to be Gladiator Forge, though.
See, now you're speaking my language. Now you're speaking my language. Hey, Steve, right down the road, right? Just across the highway. Kevin's got a copy.
Yep.
Just name the date.
We got to get back together, Kevin.
Verla went in 2018 to Shucks, and she can't wait to go back again. I did one. I don't know, Chris, did you participate in Aw Shucks at all? The online one?
I didn't. I was away with my family for the weekend, so I didn't get to check in. But a number of my friends were doing live streaming and stuff from that. It was great to see Cascadia had a section there.
Yep.
But I was hanging out on a beach with my family.
You can't beat that. So Smirk and Dagger Chris Kerber was doing live plays all weekend, and I like a lot the Menace Among Us, which is a game by Jeff Gum where it's that hidden role trader type of game. It's BSG smashed down into about 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, which I love Battlestar Galactica, but I don't always have 3 hours to play it. It smashed it down to 45 minutes to an hour, and it's got the theme just dripping, and we really got into the theme, which was fun. It's out there on the web if you want to watch it. It was a live play, and to play with the designer and the publisher and a couple of the publisher's main demo people, that just made for an awesome experience. I'm telling you, we had a blast because everybody's getting into their characters, and there was a lot of sniping and back talk, and that was a lot of fun. Aw shucks, one of the better conventions, I thought, at least some of the online ones that I've done. So I like that. While I have you, I've got the pictures ready. Let's talk about the convention that I haven't been to that someday I'm going to go to, and that's Essen Spiel. Chris, as you know, that's the big convention up there. You fly into Dusseldorf, and for an entire week, it's nothing but gaming with 100,000 people at the Messe, and it's where usually there's 1,000 to 1,500 games expected to be released. This year, about 425 have been that we know of, about 450, and one of those is Steve, take it away. One of those is Paris.
So do
all right, you got 30 seconds.
You want to do this with 30 seconds? Okay.
All right, you got to convince the chat crew and Chris. We're going to go thumbs up or thumbs down on your 3 choices.
All right. So hit the clock and start the timer here. Kramer and Kiesling, number 1, has my attention.
Should have stopped right there.
Number 2, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It looks like Aquasphere, only pretty, BJ. Okay. It's got that circular board that does a lot of cool stuff. I have to take a look and see if the mechanisms are all going to mesh, because the video that I saw looked like it was a pretty jumbled collection of mechanics. But then I saw Stella's short and sweet, and then it caught my attention again. It looks like it's collecting resources to buy buildings, move yourself up along the track, and moving yourself around with placing keys and influence, building Paris. It just looks pretty, and Kramer and Kiesling know how to make a game.
All right, Chris, sold, yay, nay?
I wish you had me, but then you kept talking. Jumbled collection of mechanics.
Now, I think that was mostly the video was not a great review. Stella did a better job distilling it down. Yeah.
I mean, a circular board, the art I'm seeing here sounds great. Yeah, the Arc de Triomphe featured, that sounds all great. But, collecting resources to do buildings, I need a little bit more than that. And then it's a jumbled set of mechanics, and you lost me. But
all right, it's 2 thumbs down so far.
Fair.
So good. Is this the one you're talking about, or that is not it?
Yeah, that's the one.
To this one. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, give us your number 2. Right, so and Chat Krewe, we want to hear from you. Thumbs up or thumbs down on Steve's choices.
Verla's with me on number 1, tied for her Essen release there with Paris. Like that one. Cloud City.
I'm just going to save this comment because every game I mention, I'm going to throw up Verla's comment. So it'll look like she's saying, that's my number 1.
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Cloud City, gateway filler game, Phil Walker Harding. Phil Walker Harding knows how to take a mechanic or 2 and make a beautiful game that's really tightly constructed around what he's trying to accomplish. No excess fat meat on the bone, but light. And I think he's taken the idea that he did from the Barenpark expansion that has the monorails and is building layers of crosswalks in a 3-dimensional city. So you have 3 levels that you're building up, and you're basically going to be collecting points for either building longest of those, collecting large points for having long trails that are either 1, 2, or 3 levels high. And in the review, I think it's a basic enough game that you need to or want to play it with the goals involved right from the beginning, so that you can have the extra things for making circles or having no unattached 1, 2, or 3 level buildings. This Phil Walker Harding gets my attention each time, and it looks like a good production.
So Beth says she generally likes him. Verla's in. Zach says yes. Evan says yes. We're getting a lot of thumbs up. Right. Oh, and a thumbs up from Chris. Why, Chris?
Right. Redeemed myself in round 2.
It sounds great. I mean, the focusing on a simple idea and leaning into that and building around that's my jam. The just Cloud City as a theme, great with the verticality. And simple, honed, but focusing on something interesting and evocative. Sounds great.
Yep, I like that one.
All right, your last choice, Steve. So
last choice. Let's 50, see if 50. I'm 50-50. Let's see if I can at least stay in the middle and not be sent to the lions here. This one I switched out. I had another Kramer and Kiesling, but I put this one in its place after seeing a short little video by Matthew Jude on this. Matthew Jude is a great reviewer, but he's also just beyond funny. Lasgo is a city builder tile layer, 2-player only, but his description at the end of the video, this is a city building version that gives you the feels of Seven Wonders Duel or Targi. It's not the same mechanics, but to have that feel where you're doing that with tile laying and building a city where you're laying out the city of Glasgow, that immediately had my attention. Those are two great tactical two-player games. Targi's one of my all-time favorites. If this lives up to a fraction of that, I got to take a look.
Yeah, it's almost like he watches your appearances on the show and just threw out two of the games that you like.
Yeah.
Chris, what do you think? This box looks kind of patchworky to me already. I get that that's the lookout look, but
it is.
Oh, Chris gives it a thumbs up. Why do you say that?
I am a fan of games that are designed for a precise number of players because they will play well at that count. And two-player games like Patchwork or Jaipur are some of my favorite most played games because they just sing with two players. In addition to have that be about city building tile lane, I know that theme is going to land with the two players I'm going to be looking for. So yeah, I'm interested.
Okay, now we see why he's the designer. He's in there with serious discussion and critical analysis, and I'm doing shtick. I'm just doing shtick. I see. You actually convinced me. When a game is meant for a certain amount of people, that is right. Beth says she wants what some guy is drinking. That is true.
That art is interesting.
She's not wrong. I think it's Clemens Franz.
Ooh, something to think about here. Thumbs up, says Dean, but he's nervous. Glasgow, too light.
I don't think it's heavy, but I don't know that it's in the ones. It's probably low to mid twos, is my guess.
All right, Steve, I think you acquitted yourself. 2 out of 3. Not bad. Let's bring, I'm going to send you back down, and let's bring Verla in. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Hello, Steve. Hold on. Let me bring Verla in. Let's see where she is. Hello, Verla. Say hello, Verla. We're here. There she is.
Yes. Hi, Chris.
Hello. Hi.
So, Verla, you've actually been to Essen.
I got to go last year, which is why I didn't go to Shucks last year because couldn't do both. But it was really awesome.
Well,
yeah, it was fantastic.
Let's hear your games. You know the rules. An elevator pitch shorter than even Steve did. And
they'll be really short.
You got to convince Chris, and you got to convince the chat crew. Let's see what you think.
That's Bonfire out there, right?
The first one is Bonfire.
Yeah. Pictures of No.
Oh wait, that is Glasgow, huh? Oh, sorry.
Is that?
That is Glasgow. Let me see if I can find yours.
Trying to find that. I'm definitely with Steve on Paris. That is tied for my number one, along with Bonfire. I am a huge Feld fan. This one's not Aaliyah, and the artwork is way better than the Aaliyah.
Boy, talk about a difference, huh?
It's totally different. There's tiling. I keep reading that it's very puzzly. I've read nothing negative about it yet. I haven't watched any videos because I tend to tune out, but I just get excited when it's Feld. So you're gnomes in this game. How can you not like that? And you get to play as a gnome. Gnomes are adorable. So
Verla's first choice is Bonfire from Stefan Feld. Chris, what do you think? Bonfire.
I heard puzzly and tile lane. And based on that, I want to hear more, but so far, good.
All
right.
I'm going to say a lukewarm good. Is that about right?
I need a little more to sell me, but that's a great start. It's a good opener.
Evan says he loves it for the designer. Patrick says.
Yes, Patrick. Thank you.
That was pretty easy, Patrick. Oh, that's nice. Does it come with kindling, or do you have to bring it? She says Feld plus gnome, and she is in. So okay, so that's off to a good start. Number 1 for Verla. Let's see what we got on your next one, Verla. Do I have? Is it right?
I think you have it there. I don't even begin to know how to pronounce that. Praga, Caput, Regni, who knows? But it is about building the city of Prague, and I studied there in grad school for a summer, and so that. I don't even know much more about the game than that, but that's what's got me hooked. So that's probably not going to sell you, but that's in my top games.
Kevin gets the comment of the night. Stefan Feld's best game involving gnomes.
Yes.
Clearly the best.
Love it, Kevin.
So Praga, Caput, Regni. What do you think, Chris? You heard the elevator pitch.
Johnny Pack says it's going to be awesome, and he has great taste in games, and I tend to love games that he plays. So
she throws a 3-pointer with 2
This
seconds
is going
left
based off of Johnny Pack's high recommendations that he keeps throwing out there over and over in all the Facebook groups.
What do you do in the game? How do you build Prague?
I don't know. I don't know. I can't wait to find out, though.
We know it's really heavy. Dean, that's because you had this in your list on your show. Of course, that's home
Thanks,
cooking, Dean. But he does. Wow, Beth likes your choices here. Yeah, pretty heavy game, Chris. That's all we got for you. We know it's heavy, and we know it's about building the city of Prague.
I mean, pretty heavy building a city in Europe. I'm gonna lean towards no, without like something more to pull me in.
Does this help out a little picture of it?
I do like that picture quite a bit. I have no idea what it means, but
you could try and build Charles Bridge and the university and all of the cathedrals.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
That's throwing me off. She says there's gnomes and castles. I think I have like 48 plays of Castle of Burgundy. I don't remember ever seeing gnomes, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe that's why you always lose, BJ.
Oh, bite your
love the gnome power.
Yep.
The gnome power.
Big opera house in Prague. I've never been. My wife's been to Prague. I don't know. Is that right?
Yep.
That sounds right.
We sold. Look, Chris, this is all Patrick needed: tiling and historical together. So
I do. Nice tiling.
Go read the designer diary on this on BGG. It's really, really interesting. And the designer was born in Prague, and yeah.
No,
I all those. So yeah, it's in my queue of designer diaries to read.
Nice.
Caput Regni would be the king is dead. He's kaput. He's not sure if that's right. So Dean says check out the Slicker Drips video for Praga if you want to get a chance. All right. So last one, a game I've actually played.
Oh.
So yeah. So Verla, I want to hear what you have to say on it.
I love the West Kingdom games.
This is Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
Viscounts of the West Kingdom. When they started talking about that online and said, the West Kingdom universe here and bag building, I got really, really excited. And there's a rondelle and set collection and that fabulous art by the Miko. Look at that board. That just looks amazing. I cannot wait to get my hands on it and just figure out what's going on.
Look at that modular board there, Chris. All right, so what do you think? Has she sold you? Are you a Shim Phillips West Kingdom North Sea fan?
I don't think I have any experience with that at all.
All right.
I like the cover that I saw. I like the font. I like what I'm seeing there. It sounded like a lot of mechanics all in one, so I'm expecting something pretty heavy. But bag building is fun. It is visually appealing there. It's like drawing my eye in there. So I don't know if it's going to be like too much, but right now I'm going to give it. I'm interested.
Nice.
Beth says she's voting because of the word Viscounts, but she hasn't played enough West Kingdom games to say if she'll love it. Horizontal thumb up. I played it with Alex and with Joe from Stonemaier Games. Let me see. I enjoyed it, but I played it on Tabletopia, and I played it on a little laptop. So the screen was about this big.
Don't even count that.
I didn't bring a mouse. And if you've ever tried to play Tabletopia without a mouse using the little trackpad,
why would you do that to yourself? Why?
I was on vacation in Gulf Shores, and I get this text from Alex saying, "Hey, we're jumping on." So I can only do the beach so much. After a while, I got to come back into the place to play a solo game or something. So yeah, Alex texted me. I jumped on and played it. I liked what I played. You know what it's got, Chris, which is kind of cool. She said the rondelle, but it's a weird rondelle where there's an inside loop and an outside loop. And you have to keep diving on the inside or diving back to the outside or diving on the inside. I've never seen that before, or at least I don't remember that. It was really interesting. It's a typical Shim Phillips design where there's lots of resource conversion and getting that engine going is really how you're going to win the game. Now, I'm terrible at those kind of games, but I do like them. I love the art from the Micho. I think he's got a distinctive art, although the new Raiders of Scythia, man, I love that art. And as opposed to Raiders of the North Sea, if you've seen the new version of it, it's a little upgraded version. The mechanics are a little bigger, and I love that new art. So we got some comments here. Paladins I've played, haven't tried Architects.
Architects is my favorite so far. I wasn't crazy about Paladins because it was very solitaire and a little heavier, but I'm really hoping that Viscounts is the best of the three.
There's more player interaction in Viscounts than there is in
Paladins.
In Paladins. So,
nice.
All right. So, Chris, you gave it a
tentative. Yeah, I mean, look at that on the table. Like that is, I would go over and be like, "What is this game?" I want to check it out just because the table presence is really catching. playing that on Tabletopia, I think I've had a nightmare about that. Like, and that looks like very fiddly, and trying to do that digitally with a trackpad. No, thank you.
No, look, I agree with you there. That is a tough one. All right, Verla, hang on here. I'm going to do my 3, and we can get your comments on that and Chris's comments. So, my 3. The first one, and I literally picked this because of the cover and because it's from Portugal. Some of my ancestors grew up in Portugal. I'm a De Silva by ancestry, and I saw Caretos. Caretos is a game that I can give you in one simple pitch. It's Monsters Inc. in Portugal. You flip the script, you're the monsters, and you're scaring the villagers away. Look, that's it. That's all I had to know, right?
Yeah.
So, Berla, Monsters Inc.
I'm intrigued. This is the first time I've seen the cover for this or even heard of it. So I'm totally interested.
Yeah, I wish I had some more pictures. I do have more pictures. If you go to the blog post about our top 8 Essen Envie, you'll see more pictures from Caretos, and I guess Americans would say Caretos, but they pronounce it Caretos. But it's got this cool looking board, and there's a really cool mechanic that I like. When you're playing cards, you're going to play a card to take an action, right? And they're all different set type cards. If you play the card you want, you get that action. The next time you come and play a card, if that card symbol matches a previous card that you played that it's laying on it, it makes the action stronger. So now I got to decide, am I going to play the action I really want, which is the wrong symbol, or am I going to play a lesser action but make it stronger? And my opponents know that. Are they going to starve me of those cards? So look, there's not a lot on it. There's a 3-minute video from the publisher Meebo Games. But I've got a copy coming in, so I'm really excited about playing it. So we'll see that.
Let us know how it is.
No, Dean and I are thinking about doing a video, but this is not the 2020 Disney release. It just looks so. All right, so that's Caretos. The next one is Durian. Chris, I'm going to say it. It's an Oink game about it's Oink games using Hanabi mechanic with a gorilla staring at you. Why aren't you filling the fruit orders fast enough? I mean, do I need to say more? If you know anything about Oink games, you know it's a little tiny box, but it gives you that big experience. I wish I had a picture of this. It's all this colorful fruit. You and your fellow players are running a fruit stand, and this gorilla is just staring at you. And every time you get the orders wrong, he yells at you. Here's the problem. You can see Verla's cards. You can see Chris's cards. You can see BJ's cards, but you can't see your own. Everyone else can see you. So do you keep adding fruit orders thinking that, well, everybody's putting in more of the pomegranates? I must have 3 pomegranates here, right? Right? I have pomegranates, right? And then, of course, the gorilla yells at you. So that's Durian. I love Oink games. I don't like everyone they produce, but I just love what they do. So, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that sounds great to me. Oink games, they're not going to take up a lot of space, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah.
As I've tried to trim my collection over the past however many months, that gorilla is giving me nightmares already about its stare of disapproving.
Right.
And just social engineering and trying to figure out what's going on. That sounds like fun. That sounds like a game I'd have fun with.
You know what's the problem with these games, Verla? The Button Shy and Oink games, you can't get rid of them. If you have a backpack or a drawer, you just put them in there. They don't take any space.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, so what do you think, Berla? Durian?
Thumbs up for me.
Okay. Ooh, I think I'm doing okay at this one. And the last one, it's actually an expansion, so I kind of cheated, but I love Era Medieval Age. It's a roll and write, and it's super overproduced. You didn't need any of this stuff. Matt Leacock originally designed it with no pieces. It was just a roll and write. But somebody at Eggerspiel said, "Oh no, we got to make this into plastic and goodness and all this board." I hate the board. That ugly yellow board is terrible. They could have done green. At least it would look like landscape. I don't know why we're in the desert when we're building out this medieval kingdom. But what it needs is expansions. As crazy as that sounds, with all the stuff you get in the box, it just needs more and more buildings and more dice. I didn't get the original expansion because the price of the game are expensive enough, but it was just kind of a little tiny box expansion. This is the first real expansion for it. They came up with a very clever name. Anybody can take a guess? Era Medieval Age expansion. Yeah, so
Wow.
I guess they paid a marketing department $1 million to come up with Era Middle Age Expansion. I don't know if that's the working title, so I'm kind of jawing them a little bit. I don't know, but that's what the PGG entry says. So that's my elevator pitch. If you like Era, more Era. Good. What do you think, Chris? That's it. Oh.
I'm gonna go. Okay, so I've played Era, but I've only played it once at a con, and I thought it was fine. I had a problem with the components. It actually shocked me that the board was that illegible, given that there was one. What I see here is some sweet looking renders. Immediately, I'm like, oh, this looks like fun. I want to play with it. But then I'm like, those are some renders, and it's not going to be as good as I want. And do I really want? I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of plastic. It's going to take up a whole bunch of space.
It's rivers. It's bridges. It's roads.
It looks so adorable. It hurts. I want to make little things, but then I'm going to be sad. That's my prediction.
Hey, Chris Strain checking in. So, Chris, we want to hear your thoughts. Oh, by the way, Chris Strain's got a big Kickstarter coming out soon. If you like Asking for Troubles, make sure you take a look. A big expansion for Asking for Troubles. We've only been waiting for like 27 years for this expansion to come out, and Chris is finally getting it. So good luck to Chris on that. So I got 2 and 1. I think we all got kind of 2 and a lukewarm, or 2 and a no. So I think we all did pretty. It's Berlin's.
I keep waiting to hear. I've heard rumors.
Is Verla in the Troubles
expansion?
Ooh, that would be fun. That would be fun.
Sure would.
All right, so let me knock these down. That's the Essen. Out of all these games, while I'm getting the pictures ready, Chris, what's the one that stands out to you? What's the one, if you were going to Essen, out of all these games we mentioned, which is the one that you would run to?
Depends on the hour of, if it's like, I'm just imagining late night at Essen and I'm playing and that gorilla staring me down, like that sounds just like this late night experience. I feel like that's going to be the one I take away from it as like the iconic experience that I had. I don't know if it'll be the favorite game, but like it'll be the moment.
I would definitely get Durian. I keep going back to that one and going, okay, that one's, but it's pretty easy. It's $15. You run, you get the little box, and you throw it in your backpack. So, Berla, out of all the 9, what's the one that you would run to?
Paris. The only reason I didn't talk about that one is because Steve already had it on the list.
You remember Dr. Finn was not that. I want to say he didn't like it. Remember when we had him on the show?
Too, but did he also play it on Tabletopia or something?
I think so. And I always give every game, Chris, you agree with me? I always give every game a little bit of a pass if you play it only on electronics.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely have to.
BJ from Game Gumbo. I've got my guest here, Chris Glein, and we've been talking spicy games. Let's talk about some sorcery. Chris is the designer of studies in sorcery. Well, I say designer, a little more than that, Chris. And we're going to dive into that. And this is a game coming out on Weird Draft Games. I want you to tell me about it. Where did this idea come from? Studies in sorcery.
Oh, it came from my brain of all places. It came from first a love of a mechanic called a Winston draft, which is a way of drafting cards with 2 players, which I did not invent. I can make no claim of. Richard Garfield, I believe, is the inventor of it.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, it's that's how I encountered it, as a way to draft Magic with 2 players. So, like, just have a lunch and a card draft. It's great. So I always wanted to design something around that, and for some reason, my brain went to, well, you've got these piles of cards that you're digging through, trying to find the good stuff. What theme is a good match for that? And my brain, as weird as it is, went to grave digging. So in this game, you're students of the Academy of the Dark Arts, and you're trying to achieve greatness or just graduate in the forbidden subjects of alchemy, reanimation, and sorcery. And in order to complete your projects, you're going to need to do that by digging up the materials to complete said projects from the local cemetery. That's the pitch. It's my game.
Steve said it was a dark theme that you actually presented lightly. Steve's the name father, and he comes up with these little quick things, dark and light being that juxtaposition. Was that a conscious effort from you to have, let's face it, kind of a morbid theme, digging up old bones and brains and things, but still presenting it in a light, humorous fashion? And if so, how'd you do it?
Absolutely. From the start, it was like leaning into taboo but funny to make it light and cute. So, like, if you're going to be it's not necromancy, it's reanimation. It's always spun in this kind of positive way, where it's like, yeah, we're going to make interesting creatures with this, and it's trying to ride that line of like, this is forbidden, we shouldn't be doing this, but also this is kind of hilarious and weird. So it was very important to me that this landed on the light side. This is not grim dark. This is, even though the theme is dark, it's playful. And we're sitting here in October, coming up on Halloween, and you have kids dressing up as things that we normally wouldn't deem as appropriate, but it's like playing with this dark line and this forbiddenness that's fun and celebrated, and that's what I wanted to do here. So I wanted to communicate that through the mechanics. I wanted to communicate that through the graphic design and the illustration. Supposed to be light.
Well, Dean and the crew from Meepletown, Dean and John, they actually did a preview for it, if I remember right. It says, "It's a cool game, Chris. My favorite part is push your luck and the grave digging." That's a good segue. Chris, tell us about how the game is played, and I'll go back to that picture showing all the card layout for you.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful. So the core part of the game is you have these project cards. So those are the kind of little open book cards you see in the middle. Those are projects you're trying to complete as part of your education at this Academy of the Dark Arts. And they all require materials, which you'll see on the left page there. So they might need bones or worms or mushrooms, or they might be very particular. It's like, this doesn't need any bone. This needs specifically a skull. So how are you going to get those things? You're going to dig in these grave piles. So those are the cards you see at the bottom that got the little gravestone on them. And there's going to be 3 of those piles, and they're going to have some number of cards of them, one or more. And on your turn, if you're digging, you're going to grab the leftmost pile. You're going to look at it and look at all the cards in it and decide if you want to take everything there, or if you want to keep going and look at the next pile. So if you take everything there, you get however many cards it is. If you keep going, you put that pile back face down, and you add another face down card to it. So it has all the cards you saw plus one more card, which inevitably is going to make piles that are less attractive eventually get attractive, because you take all the cards in the pile. And it also adds an air of mystery of like, what is that last card that got added to it? So you'll keep going until you choose a pile, or you go off the end and you get a random card off the top of the deck. And then it's going to pass the next player, and they're dealing with whatever changes that resulted from your picks. So it might be that pile that had all the cards plus one more, or maybe you took it and it's reset to 1 card. So there's this like natural drama in the push your luck of, do I want to go to the next pile that's got more cards, or should I take this right here that's kind of what I want? The moments where in this game you're like, I'm going to keep going, and you pull the next one and you regret everything. That happens so many times in the game. It just has a natural like comedic moment to it every time it happens, and it happens a lot in the game. You are going to regret your decisions, or you're going to feel like a genius. It's going to be one of the two usually.
All right, so you're digging for those bones and digging for those things, and there's a reason you do that, and that's these different studies. The way I picture it is you're bumbling, fumbling students trying to get their master's degree, and sometimes you're cramming by putting more ingredients than you really should be doing. But it's all about these cards, and I love the way that the graphic design kind of makes them look. Tell us about these cards.
Yeah, so this is a project card. So it's got a dollar value in the lower left-hand corner. That's how much it is to buy from the market. So the materials that you acquire are not just used for projects. You can then resell them to get new projects. So you're going to be trying to balance like, how much money am I getting versus am I getting the right materials? But once you've gotten your work area, it's ready to go. The left side is what you need to complete it, and the right side is what you're going to get when you do complete it. So in this case, you're going to need a vial that you can just buy from the store, and 2 mushrooms. Those you're going to need to dig up. On the right side, you see in the bottom right-hand corner, it's got the number of credits it's worth. So this is worth a 3-credit project. And it's got an effect that you're going to draw 4 cards when you complete it. So this is an alchemy project. All the alchemy projects have a one-time effect. You finish them, you drink the potion, you get the effect, you're done. So in this case, you're going to get an influx of cards. This is more of a tempo card, where other ones might be more building up your engine. And so that's the main flow of a project, but each of the schools, so this is the School of Alchemy, has its own flavor. The alchemy projects want you to finish them at the appropriate pace. If you rush them, you're going to get these demerit tokens that make them worth less. Contrasted with this is a sorcery project. Sorcery projects tend to care about the phase of the moon. So one of my favorite things about this game is that the turn tracker is actually walks you through it's a month, and it walks you through the phases of the moon. So you go from like a half moon to a full moon, and there you go, right there. And that's your turn tracker. And some of your completed projects care about what turn you're in. And then you can start layering these effects. You're like, yes, well, the new moon is coming up, and I'm pretty good at the new moon because I've completed these projects. So Sorcery allows you to layer together all of these effects. And the third main school there, you can kind of see a peek of that on the image above, is reanimation. There's the crowd favorite, the unstoppable bone sphere, which is literally just roll a whole bunch of bones together and call it a project. But there's all sorts of things. You can make a worm golem. You can make the fungal animate's another favorite, made out of mushrooms. So that's more of like the expression of yourself artistry. I'm going to make this sculpture out of these things and also turn it into my best friend. So those are the three main schools. They all have these different flavor, but you layer them together. In the end, you're trying to get points, your credits. But if you ignore the abilities you're getting along the way, you're not going to get to those high echelons.
But Chris, you actually did the art and graphic design in this one, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know if you've seen, we've got Beth Sobel in there. So here's your chance to impress Beth with some of the handiwork that you've done. No, I'm all joking aside. I thought it was crisp and clean, and it still carried the dark theme while being intentionally funny, right? Is that what you were going for?
Yeah, absolutely. And also Beth's amazing. So yeah, that's hard to be compared to her in any way. But yeah, I wanted to bring that quirkiness. This is a great shot for that. This kind of imperfect style, but bringing back this like academic feel. With the sepia tones, the books, and these little sketches and diagrams. All of that, just communicating like, hey, we're doing something kind of wrong here, but it's playful. I want to contribute that at every part.
Come on, this looks like any one of those Marvel superhero movies where they're going into this dusty stack of books and they're pulling out all these arcane charts. And of course, they recognize all the language and they can read all these languages, right? They figure out the charts, and really it's just gibberish in there. But what's interesting is that they're messing with stuff they're not supposed to be touching, right?
Yeah.
I love the layered look though, Verla. Take a look at how the pages are. They're almost
That's really neat.
They almost have an energy to them, like we're looking into different pieces of the books piled on. Maybe somebody is kind of cramming at the end to try to get their credits as fast as they can.
Yeah, that's the completed side. So when you flip it over, that's what you get. And there's a couple of things going on there. One, it looks like you had just madly been working on a project and you're left with these papers all over your desk. The other is that technically nothing there on the right side is critical information for you to know once you've completed a project. So you can tuck the cards on top of each other and have like a nice tight plane surface. So you can kind of decide where you want to see the art and where you want to be space efficient.
I like that.
We should really have Beth host the show because she has so much better questions than I do. Is the Latin fun stuff when you translate it? Did you do anything like that, or did you just kind of use the ipsum lopsum, jetsum thing?
That is the standard lorem ipsum text, but I have the ability. One of those cards actually shows it to have whatever text I want there, and something I've been having a lot of fun with. Because our Kickstarter is up right now, and I'm like, as the designer, what do I do with my hands, right? So what I've been having fun doing is taking the cards and taking them to places that seem thematic for that card, and taking a picture of them, and then writing like a little card diary article.
Oh, that's you that's been doing that. Okay, yeah. Carl's been posting those.
Yeah, no, I've been having so much fun with that. And those are great candidates to put in the background of those cards of just like, here's what a student would say upon seeing this, or here's tips about how to make your worm golem, keep it moist or something. I don't know. But that's just been a blast to like put together these little thematic paragraphs to go with each card.
Whoop, sorry about that. So as you can see, the Verla, the game is pretty photogenic, man.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I like the push your luck aspect of it very much.
It's got engine building, but it's got the engine building that I like, where it's not an engine building for the whole game, Chris. Although some of the cards do have effects that are going to last. It's really that engine building where you hurry up and build an engine and run it. Hurry up and build an engine and run it. So you're constantly spinning that motor. And I like those games, especially because, hey, I have a short attention span. So it's hard for me to plan that long. But I can spin out little tiny engines as we play.
Yeah, you don't want to be overwhelmed with how many things that are like continue to ongo in your engine. You want some things that are bursty and some things that that last, and it's good to have a good balance of that.
You're hitting the mark for Chris. You've got a lot of cool features in here with the artwork. So tell us about the project. The project funded right away. It's out on Kickstarter right away. Thank God for Carl. I love the fact that she didn't even have to worry about it. Funded within the first 24-ish hours. In fact, really the first couple of hours, if I remember right.
I think 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's always awesome when it does that. So, but what's planned for the rest? You still got some time left on the project. Are there any other plans as the Kickstarter just keeps growing?
Yeah, there's a couple of stretch goals. I have to like keep up on what's open now and what's coming. Obviously first you got like some component related things. There's a mini expansion that's one of the stretch goals, which I'm pretty excited about. It's just like a little add-on where each player starts with a staff. And that staff gives you a once per month ability. So if you remember from the turn track, like the months actually matter. So that's gonna be like a 4 times per game thing that you get to do. And they just add like a little bit of spice, a little bit of asymmetry that's really nice, gives everyone a little bit of power. It's a lovely addition. I would love to see that one happen because that one has been very popular with my partner. She always wants to play with the staves. Game works fine without it, but it is a nice addition. I'd love to see that one happen. There's also things like what we do with that little skull and the first player marker. Like there's a lot of play in there that we still have to see over the course of the Kickstarter.
Yeah, so this is one that I actually did for crowd surfing on the Dice Tower because, hey, when I'm doing the crowd surfing line-up, I'm looking for games that won't break your budget and throw in a little something extra. $19, Chris? Seriously, you might as well pay us to buy this game. I mean, really, Chat Krewe. This is an easy choice for you. $19.
It's a crazy amount of value for $19, honestly. I'm the designer. I don't plan out the production or any of that. When I said at $19, I'm like, that's great. I hope that gets this into a lot of people's hands because you will get a lot of replay value out of $19. Again, as the designer, I don't know what to do in the middle of a Kickstarter campaign. I've been streaming my solo games of it, over and over and over again. And I love playing this game solo. I love playing it with other people, but like the replayability is, for a $19 game, you should buy it.
Hey, Chris, so when you play it solo, what's your time frame now? How when you set it up, it's all set up. How long does it take you to play it? Because I've actually played it solo a couple of times.
I think if I shut up, it would be like 20 minutes. The problem is when I've been streaming these on YouTube. It's a whole bunch of videos available. If you do want to see how the solo plays out, you can check them out. But I'm like talking through my strategy and everything, and I'm like, well, that took a long time to play. Oh, because I was talking the whole time. But if you just focus, it's like 20 minutes, and you're good. And there's these missions you can play to kind of set alternate targets. But I'm also just fine just playing it and seeing what combos I can build. And yeah, probably 20 minutes for solo.
That's shorter than me. For me, 480 minutes. But I'm a slow player. No, I'm joking. It was about 20 to 30 minutes for each of the solo plays. So if you like solo games, this is one you should be looking at. I mean, $19. Hey, Chris Strain's got a question for you, though. And he's asking for a friend. If you could go back in time a week before your Kickstarter launched, what would you do differently?
Oh, man.
We see you coming, Chris.
Just prepare myself for an ordeal. I mean, I've watched so many friend designers launch Kickstarters and see them go through this and see them be stressed out. And I'm like, okay, I understand what this looks like. And no, just my feeling of helplessness right now is, I don't know. I stand by the game. I think it's great. It's been lovely. I actually, I would do the solo streaming thing that I've been doing. It's been lovely to hear from people in the Kickstarter comments. They were on the fence. They watched a solo playthrough and they're like, oh, it looks great. And they bought it. And I'm like, thank you. Because I didn't know if I was doing that for no reason. It's really great to get that positive thing.
I've never done a Kickstarter, but I would tell you exactly what you're talking about. Community involvement, getting people involved, getting people invested in the people behind the game. Look, there's plenty of games out there. They got to have a reason to take a look at a project. And one of the reasons I always take a look, one of the things I mentioned here is the art. If it's Ian O'Toole or Beth Sobel, I mean, I back it, but I'm going to take a look at it, right? Same thing with the gameplay. If it's a certain publisher, I'm going to take a look at it. But if it's somebody I know, that's why the Weird Giraffe games and the Flat Out games are so attractive to me, because I've met those people and I like those people, and you want to support the company. It's a bonus that the game is as good as advertised.
Yeah.
If again, at least it gets you to look at the project. You may not back everything, but you're still going to take a look at it. Verla, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, when I started getting into board games and found out the universe existed 2.5, 3 years ago, I learned about Kickstarter right away, and I swore it off. I was like, okay, that's clearly a black hole. I need to stay away from it. And then when I went to Shucks in 2018, I met Daniel Kazmaier and playtested Chai, and just fell in love with the game, but also just really appreciated who he was as a person and wanted to support his and Connie's dream. And then I ended up going and helping demo Chai at Essen last year. So definitely, the people behind the games makes a difference in where my Kickstarter dollars go.
Any questions for Chris about the game itself, Verla, as we're looking through some of these pictures on the Kickstarter?
Man.
Well, Beth says so many of the games she's backed are because she knows the folks and she's gotten really lucky. They are great. That's exactly right. It's the community building.
I don't have any questions. I'm just excited to give it a play. I really like just what you've described with how the mechanics and the theme really work together. That seems really cool. And, how you're working towards your degree and what you said about, the different, phases of the moon, different semesters, or, you're working on different goals that might be impacted from what you did earlier. So all of it sounds very intriguing, and I'm really excited to learn about it.
It's push your luck. A little bit of that spin up engine building, although there's some longer term cards, as I said. It's got that what I call the abyss mechanic, where you're trying to decide what cards you're going to leave for other people, or should I keep going to that next one because I really want that next pile. What's in that next pile? What's in the pile? I want to know. So it's really good. So Beth wants to know, what is your favorite aspect of this game?
Cool. Well, I mean, I started with wanting to do that draft and getting that push your luck, but I think my favorite aspect is the identity of the different schools in the game. How each one really feels like you're studying that subject, and it's like how you overlay them, and then how they interact back with that core mechanic of pushing your luck. How sorcery might dump more cards into the field, or with reanimation, you're like digging for the exact bone you need to finish your project, and so you're like laser focused. I love that interplay.
Nick, check out Rado's video, but also you may have missed that Chris has actually been running the game through solo plays. He's posted them up on YouTube. I think we have, Steve found the link. So here's a link to Chris Glein playing it on YouTube. Check those out, Nick, and you can see exactly what it is. But Nick, $19 for this. That's not bad. And with the possibility of getting even a little expansion content thrown in, a little lanyap, as we say. That's the Kickstarter project. What's that?
Expansion?
Yeah. Go ahead. Sure.
Because there's an expansion up on the Kickstarter, which is the Divination expansion, which adds a 4th school. So I was talking about how excited about the schools, and Divination just leans into that. Divination is all about trying to predict what's going to happen, all sorts of play with the hidden information of the piles, and manipulating of the fates. It's got like a tea leaf reading theme. I'm excited about that too. So if you feel good about it, if you feel confident about it, it's a definite fun addition. The game doesn't need it, but definitely benefits from adding.
Are you a former Magic player?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there any inspiration from your old Magic days in the game at all? Is there any homage there? Did you sneak anything in there? No.
I don't know. I think there's any direct references. Like Divination is a card in Magic, but like it's more like the overall umbrella of that. I learned about the mechanic of Winston drafting through Magic, and I definitely learned a lot of lessons as a game designer in the color theory of Magic, and how giving everything an identity and playing with the overlap. There's similarities between that and the schools. Like each one is a very particularly planned identity, and it's all about the interplay.
Have you used the Divination expansion in real life? Beth wants to know if you can use it for betting. Probably not, right, Chris?
It seems like probably a poor choice. I mean, you're an adult. You can do whatever you want. I probably wouldn't recommend it.
Oh, man. Or if you can go back to the future, grab one of those, grab the sports betting book and just make a killing. So Chris says, sounds like someone's a D&D player. Some of the language you're using.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What's your history with D&D?
I've been playing D&D since grade school. Took a huge break for a while, but I'm still playing it. Been playing it on Roll20 with friends today because that's what you can do. But yeah, I love D&D. It's part of my like omni gamer thing, is all the things.
So that's one of my first experiences in gaming is red box D&D back in the 80s, playing the dungeon board game with my friends, having campaigns that we playing through Greyhawk, a couple of other things like that. Way back in the day. Never teaching it to my kids. We played board games, but we did play the D&D board games. Never really teaching to my kids, but they were in a scout troop, and some of the scouts started playing D&D. I guess because they saw old books from their dads. One of the coolest thrills is finding out from your son that he's doing the things I did. On Wednesday nights, he's got a Roll20 game with his friends that are all in different colleges. I don't know why that's, it gives me the frissons, as we say down here, goosebumps, to think that, the tradition is living on, where these guys are using their brain. They're using their imagination to come up with just making adventures, right? These long 6-hour adventures. I wish I still had time to do 6 to 8 hour D&D sessions like we did as a kid.
Yeah, they're much shorter now.
Steve says he's come back to D&D this year, and he is loving it. All right, so Chris has a question for you. He's going to guess your current PC's class. He's thinking sorcerer.
Oh, we're actually in the moment of transitioning from one campaign to another, and neither of those happen to be correct. My previous class was a bard.
Okay.
And I am playing in the new one. I am playing the first ever fighter I have ever played, because I figure at some point I should do the thing. But we're playing in
just fighter, straight fighter, not fighter, thief, fighter, something. No, just straight fighter.
I'm gonna try to do a ranged fighter, just like like someone who's into archery. Actually, they have like a crossbow. It's a very spooky themed thing. We described it as what we do in the shadows is what we're leaning for the D&D thing. I don't know if you saw that movie. It's like it's what we do in the shadows. It's a mockumentary about vampires. It's hilarious. But that's the flavor of our D&D thing.
All right, elevator pitch. We got a couple of people checking in here at the last minute. We got Studies in Sorcery out on Kickstarter right now for, what is it, about a week left? I'm trying to remember now.
It says 9 days.
9 days left? Okay.
9 days left.
All right, so 9 days left, $19. You can get the expansion content with it for $24. That's a great deal. We know Carla's track record. Weird Giraffe Games is going to deliver. They're going to deliver on time, and the game's going to be better than you think of when it comes in that final box. I played the promo copy, so I can't wait to see what the real one is. Give us that last pitch. Sell the Chat Krewe. Why should they take a look at this project?
If you love cards as much as I do, the expressibility of cards, I think this will work for you. It's got that engine build yourself up, but it's not going to overstay its welcome. If you like the theme, if you like creepy and cute together, and if that sounds like your jam, you're going to be enjoying yourself as you're playing through. An important thing for me is that theme and mechanics must be like bonded from the beginning, and that is absolutely that is true for anything I design. And if that is your jam, this will deliver on that.
Yep, that's a good point. You're going to get that from this game. So that is Studies in Sorcery from Weird Giraffe Games out on Kickstarter right now. Couple of questions for you. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Fighter/diviner.
Yeah, do that. It sounds fine. It sounds good. Let's do that. Sounds like a good theme.
Fighter thief?
I've never understood that one. How can you be stealthy if you're so brazen? I mean, you got to pick one or the other. I've never gone for that combo.
Nice. I like that. All right, let's bring in Steve, and we're going to do the last part of our game. See if I can find Steve here. Steve here? Is Steve still available? Steve, where you at? I actually don't see Steve here. I think oh, nope, there he is. All right. Steve O'Rourke, the name father, checking in. Hey, Steve. Welcome back to the show. All right, so the last part that we always do, Chris, this is a board game show, so we got to play a game, right? Steve, tell us about the game tonight.
Sure. We're going to do the Envie game. We've told Chris in advance to have a game in mind, and we're going to, Verla, BJ, and I, ask some questions, 20 question style, to try and figure out what he's thinking of. We don't know, you don't know, but it's going to be a race between the Chat Krewe and the three of us to try and figure things out. And Chris is going to try to run out the clock and stump us. So, BJ, do you want to kick it off with question numero uno?
Chris, we got the game. You have the rules. We need to make sure we're all on the same page, Steve.
No, okay.
I have a game in mind. I have faith in Chris.
And it's
He's got
also
the
that
reason.
I also have no faith in us.
That's right. All right, we're competing against the Chat Krewe. Can the three of us beat the Chat Krewe? I don't think so, because we usually lose in this game, but we're going to try it. First question I'd always ask Chris, the traditional opening in the Envie is it competitive or cooperative? And I'm going to guess it's going to be competitive. I think you're a competitive board gamer.
Is both an answer?
It is.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Beth says the Chat Krewe win. Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
Most likely.
Chris has already got a guess. He says it's a Tyrants of the. You can't just throw out games. It's not Tyrants of the. All right. So it's potentially both. I'm going to, Verla and Steve, I think what he's telling us is that maybe you can play it both, or is it one of those where it's cooperative until it's not? Oh, I love those
Possible.
games. Okay.
Possible.
All right. So Berla, what you got? What question do you have for him?
Does it play up to 5 or 6 players?
So it's a bigger player count.
Bigger player count or 4 or less?
I believe it plays to 5, but not 6.
Okay.
5, but not 6. Okay.
Steve?
Come out in the last 5 years?
It's older than that.
Older than that. Okay.
Is there a trader mechanic?
No.
There's no trader mechanic. Okay, so I was thinking of a game in particular, Shadows of Camelot. I'm going to steer away from that because that one is always cooperative until it's really not. What's that round? Yeah,
I think that was what she was thinking. Yeah.
Is it Dead of Winter? Beth wants to know.
No.
No. Okay. Is it board based or is it more card based, Chris? I'm going to guess it's got a board.
Board. Yeah.
Board? Okay. All right, so Chat Krewe, we got a competitive / cooperative game, board-based, came out longer than 5 years ago, and it's going to play up to 5 people. So, all right, Berla, what you got?
Is it an award-winning game?
Oh, he's going to have to go to BGG for that one.
I don't think so. I've never seen. Certainly, my copy doesn't have any awards featured on it.
Okay.
Okay. For people,
Dean wants to know if it's thematic. Would you consider it a thematic game?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
See what we can say.
All right. For people who are kind of in the hobby, the name of a designer that we recognize.
Like a Chris Glein?
Yeah. You know, your Felds, your Rosenbergs, your Gleins.
Your Gleins, right.
I didn't know the designer on this, but that's only because I'm terrible at names.
Okay.
Beth wants to know if it was a human, Chris, would you be friends with it?
Beth has the best questions.
It's a great question. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We'd be friends.
I think people would pay Steve to see the Verla and Beth show, wouldn't you? Like just close up Gumbo Live and we just let Beth.
Well, it's Verla's decision. She can do that.
That's true.
That's true.
It's Verla's world. We're just living in it. So what did he say? What was your answer to it?
Oh, yeah.
You would be friends with it? Okay. Luke wants to know, does it have hidden movement in it?
Yes.
Good question, Luke. I'm liking that.
It does. Is it still in print? Marshall wants to know.
I feel like I have to check the calendar on that.
I was going to say Fury of Dracula. Dean beat me to
it. Dean's got it? Oh,
yeah.
Did you get it?
I was thinking
you are
fantasy.
correct.
Dang it. I didn't even get close. I was thinking fantasy, and I don't know why. I thought Shadows of Camelot, and you know how sometimes when we're playing this game, you kind of get stuck into that genre. And so I'm going through all the fantasy games I could think of, and I just, it's Descent or something else.
See, I was being polite. I was going to wait for BJ to finish his sentence, but then it was just enough for Dean to beat me to the punch. Well played,
Good
Dean.
job, Dean. Good job.
The Chat Krewe wins tonight. That is nicely done, Dean. Fury of Dracula nailed it. So what do you love about Fury of Dracula? I'm curious, Chris.
Having one player who is trying to be sneaky and they are just like all about their stratagems and everyone else is discussing it in the open and trying to crack open that dynamic is delightful. I have the second edition. The combat mechanics are way overwrought. There's a lot of problems with the game, but that core thing of like, where is Dracula? And it's got this beautiful board. that looks like this
Yes.
old-time map, and it's very evocative of the theme. You're following behind Dracula, and maybe you're going to find like they were making vampires, or maybe it's like wolves or something. I like that game more than it deserves.
Chat Krewe, if you could see Dean right now, he'd be ripping off his shirt. He's dancing around the room. He's like, winner, winner, winner. So congratulations on that. So are you a Britain first strategist when you play for your Dracula? If you're Dracula, are you going right to Britain and just kind of camping there and letting the players run around, or do you have another little secret strategy to tell us?
I don't think I'm ever allowed to play Dracula. My partner wants to do the sneaky thing. She's all about that. So I'm always hunting Dracula. I think I've played Dracula like once. I don't know what I'm doing.
I've never played Dracula. I've never done the Dracula thing. So
I hear it's fun.
All right, so that's Fury of Dracula. That is, well, it was Fantasy Flight, but I'm not sure. Is that the third edition?
I think WizKids picked it up.
WizKids, yeah.
It has a very storied past. It's hard to follow.
Yeah, I have not played the new edition.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to real quick before we close out the show. Studies in Sorcery, Kickstarter project still going on for another 9 days. Quick pitch to anybody that's just joining the show. What do they need to check out? What's coming up on the Kickstarter project, Chris?
What's coming up? That's a great question. Stretch goals are happening. I can't keep even track of what's going on there. But if you want a tight card game for $19 that's heavily thematic, then this is your thing. If you're a Halloween person, if this is your month, not just because there's a million things on Kickstarter this month, but because of like the theme, you're excited, you're going to carve a pumpkin, then yes, this.
All right, I'm going to send Berla and Steve back down into the green room, and then we'll get this show closed out in just a second. Let me get this up here. And that was our game, the Envie game, won by Dean over from Meepletown. The Chat Krewe beat us again. It's not surprising. It happens all the time, Chris. We get beat a lot. It's Game Time presented by Game Toppers LLC. Hey, Chris, make your game nights a showstopper when you play on a Game Topper. Game Topper LLC, a sponsor of the Southern Board Game Fest, a fundraiser for New Hope Foundation, which unfortunately we didn't have this year. We did it online, but we'll be having it next September. So if you're down in Louisiana in September, we'd love to have you pass by. It'll be a good time. So, all right, board gamers, that's it for another episode of Gumbo Live. I want to thank my guest, Chris Glein, for coming in. Hey, Chris, if people have questions about the Kickstarter project or about studies in sorcery, how do they reach out to you?
I am active on Twitter as Chris_Glein. I've got an Instagram going, I believe under the same handle, that's got all those card articles I was talking about. So those are the ways to find me. Look for that. I'm trying to put out some ridiculous content that makes I enjoy it. Maybe it's your thing or not, but I'm having fun with it.
Oh, that's good. All right. Make sure to like our Facebook page, facebook.com/BoardGameGumbo, or our YouTube page. It helps us to get out the word for all of our upcoming shows, including next week, Chris. We got the Board Game Brothers coming in to talk Hoop Gods, a game I had a blast with. Played it again tonight. Just love it. We've got Hamu Dennis for sure, the artist, coming in. And maybe his brother Omari will be able to join us. Hopefully we get both of them. But if not, for sure we got Hamu. And if you've seen any of the art from Rap Gods and Hoop Gods, he's a guy that we got to talk to. I got to meet him at the Southern Board Game Fest. They're from New Orleans. I don't know if you know that, but they're from right down the road. So Hamu, it's going to be a joy to talk to him. I am BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Chris. And until next time, laissez le bon temps rouler.